Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the rest of the amendments that are in the Constitution. On your notes sheet, you will notice that there are a certain amount of amendments that I've put on there, and then there are some that I haven't put on there. So if you are working in your notebook, just turn to somebody who has a note sheet and be like, what's the numbers? I don't remember off the top of my head. So I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. You can play this a couple of times. Again, I'll put it on Canvas if you need to look at it to refer to it. Okay, 11th Amendment, the first amendment that's passed after the Bill of Rights, is that a citizen in one state cannot sue another state government in federal court. You can sue state governments in state court, but you can't do it in federal court. 12 is that each elector chooses one candidate for president and one for VP. If there's no majority, the House of Representatives gets to choose the president and the Senate gets to choose the VP. 13 is a biggie. Slavery is not allowed. No labor against one's will. The 14th then goes in to say that if you are born in the United States, you are a United States citizen, and that everyone has equal protection under the law if you are a citizen. Your representatives appointed by the state population, and no person can work in the government if they've engaged in rebellion. The 14th Amendment has a bunch of things. It also says that the states can't prohibit things that the national government has already set in place, aka southern states, stop trying to keep slavery. We've already decided that slavery is against the Constitution. So there's a lot of things in the 14th Amendment, but essentially it boils down to if you're born in the United States, you're a U.S. citizen, and you have all of the same rights as everybody else outlined in the Constitution. Next slide is 15th Amendment is that all citizens of the United States can vote. You're not denied by race or color. Please note here, nothing says anything about gender. So this still does not give women the right to vote. That's going to come in a little while. The 15th Amendment basically says all citizens can vote. It's again trying to keep the South from prohibiting African Americans to vote. The 16th Amendment says that Congress has power to collect your income tax without regard to the state population. 17 says that senators are elected by the state's people. At the beginning, the House of Representatives was sending delegates up to the Senate. Senate's kind of considered a higher house. The senators are then elected by people, and that the president can make appointments. He can appoint people to serve him. The 18th is coming out of the Prohibition era. It's the ban on alcohol, and we're going to see here in just a second what ends up happening with that. And then the 19th Amendment, a very big one. All citizens can vote no matter what your gender is. So this is the amendment that allows women to vote. 20th says that the vice president and the president end their duty on January 20th. Representatives and senators end theirs on January 3rd. Congress assembles at least one time per year, and if the president dies, the VP takes place. So there are some amendments here that have a lot of things built into them. There's just a lot of pieces to them. The 21st Amendment cancels the 18th Amendment. We're not allowed to take an amendment out of the Constitution, so the best thing we can do is just put in something that cancels it. So the 18th and the 21st sort of equal each other out, and alcohol is now free for consumption if you're over the age of 21. 22, no president may serve more than two four-year terms. This comes after Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who's the only president in history to serve more than two four-year terms. He serves 4. He dies on his 4th term, and after he'd been president for about 14 years, it became pretty obvious that that was a long time, and so our electorate sort of decided we needed to have an amendment that sort of limited that a little bit. 23 is that the number of electors of your state are the senators and representatives. 24 is that poll taxes are banned. It's a tool in the South where they tried to make African Americans pay money to vote. That's illegal. And so that comes out of the 24th Amendment. And then the last 3, the 25th is that when the president has been removed, the vice president is president, and then with the vacancy of the vice president, there's a majority vote in both houses of Congress. When president declares in writing that they're unable to perform their tasks, VP takes their spot. This could be drafted for a short period of time. in the idea that, if a president can't do their duties. We often see something like this happen a little bit if a president goes under anesthesia. Should a national emergency happen, he puts power into the vice president's hands for that little short period of time. 26 says that voting over the age of 18 now is not denied, so they're, again, restricting the voting, or being more specific, I suppose. Not restricting because they're giving power to women and things like that. I misspoke there, sorry. And then the last one, the latest one, this was passed in the early 1990s, is that if Congress votes themselves for a pay increase, they want a pay raise, it won't take effect until they are either reelected or their replacement comes into office. It just allows for Congress not to up their salary and no one gets to say anything about it. They actually have to wait until they're reelected. So that's how that works. So those are all of the amendments to the Constitution. We've only amended the Constitution really 17 times since 1789, which tells you something about the way that the Constitution was written. It was written in a very intelligent way. It's probably one of the most interesting documents we have, because who would have thought that, a governing document that was drafted in 1787 would still be applicable today in 2015. So there is something to be said for the power of what the Constitution is. Okay, you're finished with notes. So now you have all of the notes. Your test is on Wednesday. Tomorrow you're going to do a short review. I would encourage you to be looking through your notes sheet, look through the anatomy of the Constitution, understand the difference between a Federalist and an Anti-Federalist. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I will be back on Wednesday. You can come in the morning if you need me. Otherwise, have fun with your in-class activity and good luck studying.